Let's start today's topic with a quick example. Imagine you're walking in a quiet park. Suddenly, you hear a loud growl behind you. It's a dog chasing you. So now, your heart rate will increase. Your pupils will dilate. Your breathing will speed up. And your muscles will get ready to run. All these responses are because of the excitation of autonomic nervous system in your body.
Drug acting on ANS or autonomic nervous system. But before going to the main drug mechanism or what are the drugs, we have to understand what is nervous system and in that what is ANS and how ANS works in our body. That means we have to go to study AJP or human anatomy or physiology of nervous system. So it will help you later how that drug will act on different system of our body and will show their action. So before going to the drug, we have to study about human anatomy and physiology of nervous system. So first we have to know what are the classified of nervous system in our body. The nervous system of our body can be classified into two parts. One is central nervous system, that is called as CNS, and another one you can tell that is peripheral nervous system. In central nervous system there are generally two nervous system that is most important for our body, that is brain and spinal cord. So brain nerve and spinal nerve that comes under central nervous system. But here we will discuss about PNS or peripheral nervous system, because all the drugs which are acting on autonomic nervous system, they generally act on different classification or different classified nervous system of PNS or peripheral nervous system. That peripheral nervous system can be classified into two parts. One is autonomic nervous system. What is the definition? By name only you can understand. Autonomic means by choice or auto. That means that are the function of our body that we can't control from our instinct. Means if we want also, then also we can't control, that is control all that emotion by our self, that are automatic, that are going to be happen in our body. That nervous system is called as autonomic nervous system. Another classification of PNS is somatic nervous system. That somatic nervous system is the opposite of autonomic nervous system. Here all that responses and function that can be controlled by our emotion or controlled by us. That means if we want, then only that somatic nervous system will work, otherwise that somatic nervous system will not work and it will stay inactive. Only when we want, by our own control, we can control that somatic nervous system. So I told you we will start next class the drug acting on ANS. That ANS I already told, that is comes under peripheral nervous system. The full name of it is autonomic nervous system. That come from auto, that means the function of all that nervous system we can't control by ourselves, and they generally happening in our body by auto choice or by auto system. That means our internal organs will functionate all that nervous systems work. That's why they are called as autonomic nervous system. That autonomic nervous system are furtherly classified into two part. One is sympathetic nervous system or SNS, and another one is parasympathetic nervous system, or we can call as PSNS. So by the name only you can understand in that sympathy what is there. We know what is sympathy. When we are feeling down or we are emotionally sad, so that time we need some motivation or someone will show us sympathy so that we can overcome all that emotions. So to control all that emotions, that nervous system of our body is generally acting. The sympathetic nervous system, they generally act when our body is in active state, when our body needs energy, and when we are full of emotions, and when our body is full of emotion, that time the sympathetic nervous system generally shows their action, and parasympathetic nervous system, they generally show their action when our body is in resting state or in digestion state. So that time whatever functions our body is doing during resting time and digestion time, all that function are generally controlled by parasympathetic nervous system. So by that name and function only you can understand that sympathetic and parasympathetic, they do completely opposite work, and by doing that opposite work they balance out the emotions of our body. So how they balance out the emotion of the body, and what are the different functions of sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, that I am going to discuss into the next slide. So now we will discuss about different functions of all that nervous system, and I told that parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system, that both act opposite, and by doing opposite function they balance out the emotions in our body and all the function of our body. So what is all that function, that I will describe now. The first thing, in eye. So in eye, what SNS do, that means what sympathetic nervous system do, and what parasympathetic nervous system do, like that we will see their action by two different columns. So in case of eye, sympathetic nervous system dilate the pupil size, that means pupil size will increase and that will dilate, so that in dark, when the light is less, that will increase our pupil size so that more light can come and we can see in dark also. So that is the work of sympathetic nervous system. In parasympathetic nervous system, during daytime when light is more, so our eye don't need that much of light, so that time parasympathetic nervous system decreases the pupil size or constrict the pupil size. So that decrease of pupil size is the work that is controlled by parasympathetic nervous system. The second organ we can tell, that is bronchial muscle. We know bronchial muscle, that means respiratory system. What SNS and PNS do, that we will see. Sympathetic nervous system, in case of bronchial muscle, they will dilate the bronchial muscle, and in case of parasympathetic nervous system, they will constrict the bronchial muscle. So now we discussed the eyes, effect of SNS and PNS in eye and bronchial muscle, and different organs are also there where that sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system showed their action. The third one is male genital. In male genital, generally sympathetic nervous system help in ejaculation, and in parasympathetic nervous system, male genital generally do erection. So male penile ejaculation is controlled by sympathetic nervous system, and penile erection is controlled by parasympathetic nervous system. The other organs in which that also works, fourth one is salivary gland. That is the gland which generally produce and secrete saliva. What SNS do? SNS increases the secretion of thick mucus or thick saliva. In case of PSNS, it helps in secretion of thin, that means watery mucus secretion. You can see in all organs that sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system is doing opposite work and controlling and balancing all that function in our body, so they are cancelling out each other and maintaining balance or homeostasis of our body of different function in different organs. The next organ where both nervous system works, that is cardiovascular system or mainly on heart. So now CVS, how that CNS and PSNS control central nervous control cardiac vascular system or heart. That sympathetic nervous system generally increases the heart rate, and increase of heart rate will also increases the blood volume increase. In case of PSNS or parasympathetic nervous system, it will decreases the heart rate and decreases the blood volume also. The next organ what we have to remember, that is GIT. In case of GIT, that SNS decreases muscle motility. So now you can see SNS is doing inhibitory work in case of GIT. In case of GIT, sympathetic nervous system is generally decreasing muscle motility of GIT that can causes digestive problem. In case of heart rate or BV, I told you already that it is decreases by PSNS, but here it will increases the muscle motility in GIT, so it will help in food digestion in our body. So here also you can see it is also doing both opposite work, but here SNS is doing inhibitory action and PASNS is doing exhibitory action. Now we will discuss about some organs where only sympathetic nervous system generally works and there is no role of parasympathetic nervous system. That is blood vessel. We know in our body, in different tissues and different organs, blood vessels are there. Now according to that, where blood vessels are present, according to that, SNS will do their exhibitory or inhibitory action. In case of blood vessel, which are generally present into the skeletal muscle, in case of skeletal muscle, that sympathetic nervous system will dilates the blood vessel present in the smooth muscle of blood vessel present in smooth muscle. But in case of blood vessels which are present in skin, in case of that sympathetic nervous system will constrict the blood vessels that are present into the skin. So here you can see that here PSNS or parasympathetic nervous system have no role or no control, only SNS is acting, and according to the presence of blood vessel, SNS will show exhibitory or inhibitory action. In case of blood vessel present in the smooth muscle, it will show exhibitory action. That means SNS will increases or dilates the smooth muscle present in the blood vessel of smooth muscle, or in case of blood vessels that are present in skin, SNS will do constriction or inhibitory action of blood vessels that are generally present in skin. So here there is no control or no action of PSNS. Like same other example where only SNS do work, that is kidney. In case of kidney, SNS generally increases the renin secretion from kidney. So here only SNS do their work, and it shows exhibitory action by which the renin secretion increased by the kidney. Here is no action or no control by PSNS. That means parasympathetic nervous system can't control the renin secretion by kidney. So by that I have explained what are the organs where SNS and PSNS do their opposite action and maintains the balance of the body. Then I have discussed about blood vessel and kidney where SNS only do their action. There is no action or their functions. They don't have any control by PSNS or parasympathetic nervous system. Now we have to understand or we have to see what are the receptors that are generally present in autonomic nervous system that generally helps the drugs in doing their action, because I have told you all the drugs what are acting in our body, they generally show their action by binding with specific receptor. So here also different important receptors are there which are present into the autonomic nervous system that I am going to discuss now. What are the receptors present? So what are the receptor present that we have to know in both cases. In case of sympathetic nervous system, what are the receptors are present, and in case of parasympathetic nervous system, what are the receptors are present. In case of SNS, the receptors which are present that are called adrenergic receptors. That adrenergic receptor generally bind with adrenaline, or we can call that is epinephrine, or non-adrenaline or norepinephrine or dopamine. So in case of SNS or sympathetic nervous system, the receptor present in SNS is called adrenergic receptor, and that receptor generally bind with adrenaline, noradrenaline and dopamine and show their action. And in case of parasympathetic nervous system, the receptor present in PSNS is called cholinergic receptor. So that cholinergic receptors are present in PSNS. That receptors which are present in PSNS or parasympathetic nervous system is called cholinergic receptor. That in that cholinergic receptors, they are generally show their action by binding with acetylcholine. So what are the receptor present in SNS or sympathetic nervous system is called adrenergic nervous system. All the receptors bind with adrenaline, noradrenaline and dopamine. And PSNS, all the receptors which are present into the parasympathetic nervous system are called cholinergic receptors, and cholinergic receptors generally show their action by binding with acetylcholine. Now there are further receptor classification of adrenergic receptors present in sympathetic nervous system, and there are also classification and subclassification of receptor what are present in as a cholinergic receptor in parasympathetic nervous system. All that classification of receptor I am going to discuss into the next slide. Now the receptors of adrenergic receptors that are present in central nervous system are classified into two parts. One is alpha adrenergic receptor and second one is beta adrenergic receptor. In case of receptor which are present into the parasympathetic nervous system, that are called cholinergic nervous system, and that cholinergic receptors are also two types. One is nicotinic receptors and muscarinic receptors. They are also having subclassification and they also having their specific site of action. So first we will start with alpha adrenergic receptor. Alpha adrenergic receptor has two types. One is alpha 1 and second one is alpha 2. That alpha 1 is generally used or generally present into the cardiovascular system, generally in heart, and alpha 2 is generally present into the skeletal muscle. Now beta adrenergic receptor also having three types of receptor. First one is beta 1, second one is beta 2 and third one is beta 3. They are also acting in specific site of the body or specific tissue or organ of the body. Beta 1 generally present in heart, and shows their action in heart. That beta 2 adrenergic receptor generally present into the blood vessels and smooth muscle. So all the sympathetic nervous system work done by BVB means blood vessel and smooth muscle, all that are controlled by beta 2 adrenergic receptor, and beta 3 adrenergic receptor are present in adipose tissue. That means what are the work is controlled by central nervous controlled by sympathetic nervous system into the adipose tissue. All that action are controlled by beta 3, and all that receptor generally bind with adrenergic receptor bind with adrenaline, noradrenaline and dopamine. Now we will discuss about cholinergic receptor types and their specific action and how they are showing their action. The receptor present into the parasympathetic nervous system, that receptors are called cholinergic receptor, and they generally show their action by binding with acetylcholine. What are the types of cholinergic receptor present in our body? First one is nicotinic, second one is muscarinic. Now nicotinic receptor are two types according to their present in our body. If that nicotinic receptor are present into the different neuron present in our body, then that is called as nerve type of nicotinic receptor. And if that nicotinic receptors are present into the different muscle of our body, then it is called muscle type of nicotinic receptors. So by that name only you can understand nicotinic nerve receptor generally present in nerve and control all the action of nerve of parasympathetic nervous system, and all the work done by parasympathetic nervous system into different muscle that are controlled by muscle type nicotinic receptor. Now M type of nicotinic or M type of cholinergic receptor are also classified into 5 types. That classified also is done according to the presence or work of all that receptor into specific site of our body. According to that, M or muscarinic receptors are classified into M1, M2, M3, M4 and M5. That M1 generally control all the parasympathetic nervous system work is happening into the GIT or gastric intestinal tract. M2 generally control all the parasympathetic nervous system that are going through in our heart. So all the control work that is controlled by PSNS or parasympathetic nervous system, they are generally controlled by binding with muscarinic 2 receptor. M3 generally show their action into the respiratory system, or we can tell bronchial muscle. So all the action done by PSNS is controlled in bronchial muscle by muscarinic or M3 receptor. And M4 and M5 they generally present into the central nervous system. That means all the work of parasympathetic nervous system that is controlled into the CNS or central nervous system, that all are done or controlled by binding with M4 or M5 receptor, and all that cholinergic receptor generally show their action by binding with acetylcholine or ACH. So by that I have finished off the nervous system and autonomic nervous system. From the next class I will start about the details of drug which are acting on autonomic nervous system, and then we will discuss about the drug which are acting against autonomic nervous system into the upcoming classes. For today, go through all the system of autonomic nervous system, and next slides we will discuss about different drugs. Thank you.